People who won a lifetime supply of a product. What did you win? How did you win it, and are you still receiving said product? I won a trivia thing from a radio station in 2015. The prize was a lifetime supply of passes movie candy from AMC theaters. They gave me a gift card looking thing to show at AMC that allows up to $40 and snacks for free plus admission. It's been almost 10 years and this card still works. It's saved my butt so many times when I was struggling financially. I could go get dinner or sit in air conditioning for a few hours. I'm honestly shocked that it's still valid, but it's probably the best thing I've ever won in my life. Donuts. I get 365 donuts a year from a local donut shop in my hometown. I give them to a children's home who in turn gives them to kids on their birthday. It was a smart move by the donut shop because to make sure everyone gets their fill I pay to double the order, plus I get them juice and milk. I won this 16 years ago and they have always honored the prize. Do you spread that out though the year, or do they dread the day you roll up and order 730 donuts at once? This happens monthly. I pay the difference for 8 dozen donuts plus orange juice and milk every month. The donut place has embraced this and handles everything, and I just foot the bill. If I hadn't been on a no carb phase in my life, I'd probably be eating them instead of giving them away. BTW, if you ever struggle with gift giving, find a children's home and donate a birthday cake in honor of someone's birthday. A lot of them have some kind of program like this, and you might be giving some unfortunate child the first birthday cake they have ever had. Not me, but a relative of mine bought a closet full of extra large half-gallon mugs from Dunkin' Donuts in the mid-90s. The cups were sold at a premium with a contract stating that the user was entitled to a $0.99 fill-up of any beverage for life. His thinking was that he'd be able to save thousands over the next decades by getting iced coffee by the gallon and never paying more than $1. A few of the cups have worn out or been destroyed, but he still has many left. He's pretty well known by all the local dunks now. Anytime he goes to a new location, he has to explain the situation to a barista, the manager, and then escalate to corporate. Some stores won't honor it even with proof from corporate. Most of the baristas are younger than the cups themselves. I won a lifetime pass to Smuggler's Cove mini golf when I was young by winning a monthly birthday drawing. It was in the shape of an embossed credit card. Raised numbers and name. They sold the location to Pirates Cove Mini Golf, which did not honor my lifetime pass. Years later, Smuggler's Cove returned to the original location, and when I tried to use the lifetime pass, they did not honor it. It turns out it wasn't valid for my lifetime, rather the length of ownership of original Smuggler's Cove Mini Golf course. That's so lame. Because you wouldn't just come alone, you'd likely bring paying friends. And it's not like mini golf is consumable. They wouldn't be losing anything. Bad business decision. Lifetime supply of pizza, pasta or salad from a chain place in Sydney. They have about 5 locations. Have used it about 200 times in the past 5 years. Wasn't one, but they only sold 200 of them, and it is likely the best purchase I have made in terms of value. Still go there a few times a month. I didn't win it, I accidentally bought it. Some years ago I wanted to make the garden a bit prettier. I checked on some auction site and someone offered a leftover batch of chalk to improve the soil. We agreed I would pay €30 shipping included. 3 days later a delivery guy arrived completely pissed off, banging the door and shouting why the hell I would let this be delivered by a standard parcel delivery service. I didn't have a clue what he was talking about until he showed me the packages. Apparently the seller sent me 8 30kg bags of chalk. I require about 5 kilograms of chalk a year for my garden. With the 240 kilograms of chalk I got, I can last almost 50 years. By the time I'm out of chalk, I would be over 100 years old, which is an age not that many people will become, let alone while still gardening. Bottom line, for €30 including shipping I now have a lifetime supply of chalk. I had a mail buddy in college whose legal name was a traditionally female name who got drunk one night and entered a contest to win a lifetime supply of feminine hygiene products. He won and it was really awkward. So, as a woman, if the guy I'm out on a date with says he won a lifetime supply of pads and tampons, that's a point for the boyfriend material side of the tally. That sheet is expensive and guy who can provide that for me for free is a lucrative catch. If your friend was smart, he should have advertised this win to every hot lady he met. But if your buddy only dates men, women's shelters always need feminine hygiene products. If you're still friends with him, let him know that he'll be a hero in the local charity community for donating these regularly. One of my friends won a lifetime supply of dog food through a contest he entered on a whim. He was ecstatic at first, who wouldn't be, but then his dog developed an allergy to the specific brand after a year or so. Now he just donates the bags he still gets to the local animal shelter. So yeah, he's still getting it, but it's not exactly going to use as originally planned. I won a lifetime supply of jelly beans from Jelly Belly when I was a teenager. I had the option of one delivery of a 3 kilogram bag, or 3 deliveries over the course of a year of one 1 kilogram bag. I was forced by my mother to choose the second option so I didn't gorge myself. My grandma had an awesome sense of humor. We were all with her the days leading up to her dying at 93 in her own home. It wasn't particularly sad, we were celebrating her life. At one point she was lying in bed and held up a half-full box of the candy Tic Tacs and said lifetime supply. My family received free Pizza Hut for life because they used our house for a commercial and some advertisements. It was awesome, we had it for around 12 years, but then they changed some executives and decided to revoke it. So not for life, but still having it that long was awesome. We would just order like 10 pizzas for a party or something, and the delivery driver would always be so confused. They would look down at the receipt confused and say it says you don't owe anything. We would always tip very well though, since we didn't have to pay for pizza, so they still loved us. I won a lifetime supply of Mountain Dew while in college. Some random sponsored drawing on the drill field. What I received was 2 large pallets. During finals week. And it was nearly a lifetime supply. My kidneys nearly failed. I spent a few days in the hospital. I gave the rest of the Dew to my apartment complex, and to this day, I cannot even look at Mountain Dew without my stomach turning. In college, my wife won a lifetime supply of Red Bull in one of those tack things, the one where you build your own downhill snow sled. She got thrown clear from her team's sled, knocked the duck out, and had a wicked injury, fully recovered though, all on video. The lifetime supply was easily 12 years worth if you had one a day, but college kids gone to college and it was half gone within 4 years of winning it, lol. I won a lifetime supply of lawn fertilizer from some random magazine I filled out when I was stoned a sheet and thought it said a lawn mower. I didn't have a ducking lawn anyway because I lived in an apartment in downtown Seattle and didn't know what to do with it, so I just gave it to my dad for $500 who had a huge property out in the rainforest where he didn't need it anyway. I won a lifetime supply of corn nuts during a promo for their pepperoni pizza flavor. I assumed that this would have been like a laminated card that I could take to a convenience store and say, nah, the corn nuts are already taken care of. No. I got 6 giant boxes of packs of corn nuts in various flavors, pepperoni pizza being the absolute worst. After a couple of weeks I was giving corn nuts to anyone who would cross my path and would entertain a snack that resembles the consistency of human teeth. I wondered how they came up with the appropriate number of boxes to be considered a lifetime supply. I can say that after that experience I never want to see another corn nut again, so I would consider it to be a lifetime supply. Drove from Illinois to New England when my daughter was 3 at Christmas to see family. Coming home we stopped at a bigger Holiday Inn with a bar and restaurant. While I was checking in, the desk clerk noticed it was my birthday and said he was going to give me a lifetime supply of free cocktail coupons. He hands me a huge mailing envelope overflowing with coupons. I was pretty pumped up and used the first coupon that night. Was bragging about it to our server and she looked at me and said, "You know that these coupons all expire on the 31st of December." Ended up using exactly 2 coupons. Neither my wife nor I really looked forward to getting up at 8 the next morning and driving 500 miles while hungover. When I bought my truck, it came with free oil changes for the life of the vehicle. Second oil change, mechanic comes to me with a bunch of additional suggested services. I declined. He says, "Well, if you decline these services we have to charge you for the oil change." Never went back. Unfortunately not a lifetime, but a year's worth of donuts from a local restaurant. They specialize in audacious donuts during their brunch hours and held an ugly Christmas sweater contest during a brunch in December. They called to tell me I had won and to come and pick up my prize after the holidays. It was a punch card for getting a free donut each week of the year. We went ahead and took advantage of the freebie while we were there and I enjoyed what would surely be one of many free donuts that year. Yes, 2020 was lining up to be a real winner. I didn't technically win anything, but they didn't want me to return it, so in a way it's a win. I ordered a tube of grease for my truck, the kind you use for wheel bearings. They sent me a case of these tubes. I used about half a tube to pack my bearings. Bearings are good for around 100k miles. They sent me 20 tubes. I think that's fair to say I now have a lifetime supply of grease. I won a lifetime pass for a mini golf and go-kart place that was popular in my area back in the 80s. It wasn't a random drawing, it was a prize for a contest to raise funds for a specific charity. They made a whole big deal about it and my picture was in the local paper. I got the pass, which was a business card sized laminated paper with their branding, my name, a barcode, and irrevocable lifetime pass. The first time I went to use it, they refused to let me in. I called the next day to speak with the manager and he told me the whole thing was a publicity stunt and I should feel good for having raised money for charity. I tried again and was denied access to the park. Then the third time I was denied entry, the card was confiscated, and I was lifetime banned. Nobody cared. The paper that ran the article, the contest organizers, nobody. I couldn't help but smirk when that place went out of business, but they went out of business maybe 10 years ago, so I missed out on something like 30 years of using that pass. Of course I respected their lifetime ban, and was always open about my story and how I got banned for trying to use the lifetime pass they had given me. But nobody cared. Update: this is a story about a kid getting screwed out of a prize through a loophole. Nobody was bodily harmed, nobody starved, there were no threats of violence. It's a case of poor business ethics, not a cause for moral outrage. Poor kid got screwed, but the world continued to spin, the tide continued to ebb and flow, and hurt feelings eventually were overcome. Please keep that in mind. Nothing I've mentioned here is worthy of anything more than a WTF, as this pales in comparison to the real problems we face in this world. Not a lifetime supply, but I won a year's supply of free meals from October when I was in college. They just give you a gift card with 52 free meals loaded on it. As a college student it was heaven. I heard of another student who won the same prize, but they had a typo on their card and got 520 burritos instead of 52. The story of the Casa Sanchez tattoo is relevant here, largely for how well they delivered. Long story short, a local taqueria in San Francisco offered free tacos for life if you got a tattoo of their logo. First in 1998, then they revived it in 2010. The problem is that they closed the restaurant in 2012 and moved into just selling chips, salsa, and the like in grocery stores. However, they put a clause in the lease of the pupuseria that took over their old location that people with the tattoos still get free pupusas. So a little over 20 years later it appears to still be holding up, more or less. My friend once had a birthday party at a bowling alley when we were kids, and his dad preloaded one of those arcade cards with like $30. Well, something must have gotten ducked up because we had like 5 kids sharing that card and it easily should have ran out by the end of the party. He proceeded to have his birthday at that same bowling alley the next several years, bringing the same arcade card with him, and it always worked for seemingly hours of gaming at the arcade. We got so many prizes literally because of an infinite tickets hack that somehow came to us. It worked for maybe about 4 years till it finally said it was empty. To this day we have no idea how much was actually on the card. I once won McDonald's Happy Meals for a year in one of their Monopoly games. It's really once a week for a year. I was a teenager and thought it was hilarious. I will never use this. My mom thought it was awesome. Every week for a year she went to McDonald's and ordered one Happy Meal. She said she got the funniest looks, but that was her lunch. This is not technically something I won, but when I got braces my mom somehow managed to get them to write free retainers for life in my file. I have since had dental work done other places and moved to a different area, but if one of my retainers cracks or gets worn I still contact them for an appointment. I think the orthodontist who wrote it is long since retired. The receptionists are always confused when I call and say that's not a thing they offer, but I insist they pull my file, and when they see it they end up honoring it. Even if one day I call and my file is not there anymore since I was a patient so long ago, it's probably saved me thousands of dollars over the years. When I was stationed in South Korea 2014, there was a defector from the north that went across the demilitarized zone. He was shot by the North Koreans a few times as he made his crossing. The guy woke up in the hospital in Seoul and asked for a choco pie. Choco pies are a Korean version of moon pie. The company that makes them, Lot, stated that he would never have to worry about not getting a choco pie again. As far as I know, this defector has a lifetime supply of Korean moon pies. It wasn't a lifetime supply, but I did win a year's supply of Oreos. There was a contest at my local grocery store and my mom insisted I go, so reluctantly, I biked down there and competed in an Oreo stacking contest. I won, but I was also the only person who entered. I was given 52 coupons and was allowed to use one each week for a pack of any Oreos I wanted. I was in 7th grade, so it was pretty sweet, and my mom never bought name brand. I felt pretty cool. I had a co-worker that won a year's supply of Cinnabon, basically a free Cinnabon every day for a year. She lasted about 3 months before she couldn't do it anymore and gave me the coupon. I had the coupon for a couple of weeks before we just started sharing the coupon around the office. I think we just all stopped after 6 months. It was just too much for any one person to handle. I won a lifetime supply of bagels from Einstein Bagels during prom after party like 20 years ago. I used it for a decade, then gave it to my mom. They give us 15 free bagels a week. She has used it every single week and just got a bag of 15 to take home. My college had an Einstein Bros in it and I went to get a bagel once on like the 3rd day of school. I told them about my free bagel and the employee didn't believe me. She goes and gets the manager and he looks at me and goes, "So you are the guy everyone keeps talking about." Then I got my free bagel. Apparently they only did this once and I was it. I've never won anything before or since. My wife won Starbucks for life, which is one food or beverage item per day for 30 years. The first year we used it literally every day to try to see if they'd cash us out. It's still pretty rare we miss a day. Sometimes we run in before close and grab one of the food boxes for a snack for the kids the next day. Biggest pain is when they change their app and the codes stop working, and getting the tax forms in the new year. There's no contact we can reach out to, so it always takes months to get anything resolved, because no one knows what to do or how the program works. Technically I won a lifetime supply of electrician's tools and tape. My father was an electrician for 30 plus years working for the Union Port Authority of NYNJ. Now apparently back in their heyday, if you didn't have something out in the field or someone borrowed something, it was easier to just sign one out from the supply room. Problem was they weren't taking them back. So dad eventually retires and there is just a basement full of toolboxes and stuff. Unfortunately, he eventually passes early too. So we have to go through it all, and me and my 2 siblings find he has multiple entire toolboxes filled with the same few tools over and over. Diagonal wire cutters, combo pliers cutters, wire strippers, 3 sizes needle nose pliers, and electrical tape of all colors. No exaggeration, like a dozen plus of each kind of tool and random multiples of others till like 4-5 hammers and tons of huge screwdrivers. Oh, specifically 6 full cases of black electrical tape. I think the shop loaded him up with all their extras as some kind of joke, I hope. But yeah, he passed about 8 years ago now, and I'm a homeowner and use my share of those tools on a semi-daily basis. Despite not being an electrician. And I still think of him every time I see one. So it keeps the memory alive in a small way. And I keep them out of the rain and keep them oiled sharp, so I'll never use more than 1 or 2 each in my lifetime, so my kids will be inheriting them as well. So technically a lifetime supply plus. Not so much as win, but a brewery near me was doing a promotion where if you went to an event they hosted and got a tattoo of their logo, it was around $300. You were promised free beer for life, which consisted of a single package of beer, 6-pack, 12-pack, large bottle, growler, etc., once a week for life. The brewery closed down about 2 years after this promotion, and the owner fled across the country with a ton of people angry with him. Luckily another, better, brewery took over the spot, and to this day is offering people that got the tattoo 50% off a pack of beer every week for life, even though they have absolutely no obligation to do so. So in the end it's a happy ending, and I have a new favorite brewery. In high school, when Sirius Radio first came out, my dad bought me a lifetime pass as a graduation gift. A few years later my car was totaled in Hurricane Sandy. When I went to go switch the radio sub to my new car, they informed me the lifetime was the lifetime of the radio and not me. I made a big stink about it being a natural disaster, and eventually they gave me a free transfer. About 8 years later a class action lawsuit made them give everyone with lifetime subs free transfers forever, so now I'm good again. At a tech convention in Atlanta one time, I won yearly training for life from a tech training company. Was a boot camp type, for making a 30-foot putt-on mat on concrete. You got 3 gonads, and it was perfectly smooth concrete. I thought it was a trick ball or something, but nope, straight in, all 3 gonads. They changed their name the next week and nullified the deal soon after. They had like 3 winners from my company, 11 total I think. I was little, like 6-7 years old. My name was pulled in a drawing at the Mall of America where I won lifetime rides for life. Got my photo taken with a bunch of Moa Camp Snoopy execs and had a short clip in the local news about it. In January every year I had to come in and get a photo ID similar to the employee ones. A few years later Camp Snoopy dissolved and it turned into a Nickelodeon themed park instead. My rides for life only worked for the first year, and after that they no longer recognized me as winning rides for life. I won a Life-to-Me supply of chocolate. But it was handed to me all at once. I ended up setting up in the middle of town and offered every resident as much chocolate as they could eat. It was probably the biggest congregation of people in that, admittedly small, town's history. All the chocolate was gone by the end of the day.